If you need some money in Brooklyn, you knew where to look. You knew who to see. You could pick up a shift with multiple positions available. Get up and personal with hand-to-hand contact. And if you're opposed to working outdoors in cold weather, they offer cooking, cutting, and packaging. Now that's the empire of Baby Sam Edmonson. He had multiple spots operating in Brownsville in East New York, with just one spot averaging $100,000 a day, allegedly. Now that's more than a service department in a car dealership. It's been alleged that he was touching more money than an Italian mafia family. So much money to count, he had to hire people, and they would quit because it was just so much money to count. Guys and females would be bored of counting the money. They would just leave. Forget the good money they was getting paid. Just imagine sitting in the room for hours counting money, writing down numbers. Just the thought of coming back the next day doing the same thing over and over again just drove people crazy. And he knew that would be a job that no one wanted, but someone had to do it, and he would use that as discipline. If one of the guys F up in any type of way, you would be removed from the block or even doing security and placed with the females counting the money. The one thing most people knew about Baby Sam that they all agreed on was he was smart. And let's talk about the feds. Now the feds was pissed following behind a car with the license plate, "The world is mine." And the foreign car didn't make things any better. He would have the 4-finger ring hanging from the window while driving down the avenue. Not only that he wore a $40,000 pendant with the words "The world is mine" spelled out in diamonds. I mean, check out the pic. He got the fat gold chain stuffed inside the shirt that's hard to hide. Gold and platinum 4-finger ring that he could barely lift his arm with. And we're talking about platinum in the 80s. Now that's a big deal. The royal gold wrapped around his wrist. The gold he sport looking like something you'll see a king wearing. That gold on his ring finger costs double what a person will pay for their car. Now, this is not only seen by poor gangsters in the inner city. It's seen by guys coming from different countries that came from a different type of nothing. Different Jamaican crews were setting up shop in different parts of New York. Delroy Edwards would enter Brooklyn, New York on a tourist visa. Now, when you enter a different country on a tourist visa, the maximum stay is 6 months. Now, Edwards had other plans. Now, some say he entered the United States illegally through Mexico. His life in Jamaica was very violent. It was a battlefield where he came from, so he had no worries coming into the streets of New York. We all heard stories of the Shower Posse. Well, it wasn't just a crew, it was an organization with different posses. He wasn't with the Shower Posse though, but he was connected. He was connected to the Southies and the Rinkers. Say, a lot of dudes didn't realize how dangerous he was. First of all, he's Jamaican. You don't mess with Jamaicans. And second, he was a part of a military and hired gun. He trained in guerrilla warfare. Now, guerrilla warfare is when small and weak nations practice to go to war against larger and powerful groups. Now, bringing that military strategy to New York will leave any gangster crew with no chance at all. In Crown Heights, he had the Gullyman posse behind him, and they were vicious. Now, after this video, just hit up Google, do your little research. Fast forward a little bit ahead, after his father passed, he would take over and operate from his spot. Now, we're not going to get into how his father passed. I heard something horrible that I'm not 100% sure about, and I don't want to put that on a person out of respect, especially if I'm not 100% sure. But on the other end, I don't put nothing past anyone, especially the things that I heard about Uzi. But his father was in the ganja trade, selling it from a grocery store. Edwards would eventually set up shop in New York, Philly, and DC. And those ghettos were paradise compared to where he came from. Now, compared to Baby Sam, he didn't have any license plates, but he did ride around the 300 E-Benz with a phone in it. Now, we're talking about the mid and late 80s. Now, that's something special. That's something serious because People wasn't even walking around with phones on them. Now, anyone with the nickname Uzi would draw some type of curiosity. The Uzi was his preferred weapon. It just gets his job done. And no one would work the Uzi like Edwards. The Jamaicans introduced the U.S. streets to high caliber weapons. So it would be a whole crew of Jamaicans just standing there with just Uzis. And that shit would be crazy. Okay, so he would come to America. He would use that overseas gangster on American soil. So settling in, he would look into territory, but most of the locations already had owners. So he had to take it. So he would start with different factions of Jamaicans, mostly the ones he didn't like. He would send his men to certain corners to catch wreck and start problems. If he wasn't getting a piece, the problems he would cause will make it hot, causing lots of attention. He knew how to deal with them. Baby Sam gave jobs to lots of people. He had Jamaicans on his payroll. Now Uzi will mess with a corner full of Jamaicans, not knowing that African-American Baby Sam owned it. Things would slow down and Sam would just use the Jamaicans to communicate to Uzi, but Uzi would just ignore it, and Sam took it as disrespect. Uzi didn't have anything personal against Sam. He didn't care for him. He was just taking what he wanted, and then he just left it alone. It wasn't really anything to talk about. Now, Sam would continue to hear things about Uzi. He would continue to hear about Uzi killing serious men in New York with no retaliation. One night, they spotted Uzi, late night, with a trench coat with a look on his face, daring them to try something. Baby Sam had his enforcers, Victor Breland and John Amante. They were his top men, but you don't want to send your best guys to go up against a professional killer. Now, Uzi would hang inside a Jamaican spot called Love People 1. I'm surprised it never was shut down during those times because of the violence. The hip-hop tunnel had nothing on Love People 1, and that was just a disco spot. But Uzi shot a man for stepping on his feet. Now, nobody was touching Uzi on the street. He was hard to get to. There was no chance catching him slipping at all. And I could say the same for Baby Sam. He had too many cats under him to be out on the street shooting it out. Delroy and his crew were going on a crazy shooting spree, targeting all his rivals. Two guys would be sitting in a parked car, and they would roll up and spray the whole car. Now, that 1987 was a wild spring. Summer didn't even start yet, and they were responsible for 10 shootings during springtime. Now, a lot of people say the same thing mentioning these two fellas. All they could say is they were enemies. They never could tell you why. They mentioned they had shootouts with each other, but everyone had rivals. Everyone was shooting it out with everyone, so you didn't know where it was coming from. When it comes to death of a big name, a kingpin or a heavyweight, it's never the enemy, it's always the person the closest. I'm gonna say it again just in case you missed it. It's never the rival, it's always the person that's close to you. See, y'all have to stop watching so much movies and thinking it's real. War is always bad for business on both sides. Both sides knew that. See, a turf war not only affects the parties involved, it affects the other kingpins or dope boys that's making money in the city. But eventually, it will all come to an end, just like the hundreds of stories we already heard about. The dope boys goes to jail. So they both were booked, and they both got hit with a lot of time, and they would be on the same block. Baby Sam was able to give Uzi the good old Rikers Island $150. That would be the closest he would ever get to Delroy. Now, Uzi would be escorted to the hospital with agents surrounding him with M16s. Days later, Baby Sam would be attacked by two of Uzi's men. And then, Uzi would come back. He would return by attacking Baby Sam's associate with a box cutter. Now, these guys would eventually be separated, but imagine if these guys returned home together and was back on the streets at the same time. I think only one guy would return back to New York. I'm surprised Uzi wasn't departed, but I think he would have went back to his country to live like a king. But that's just my opinion, man. But shout out to all my subscribers. Shout out to everyone that tuned into this video. If you're not subscribed, if you like the video, you should subscribe because I'm giving you fire every week. And We just gonna keep that ball rolling. I'm gonna keep giving you some hot shit, man. And, hit me up in the comments. Let's get these likes up. And I'm out.